Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the introduction. I have nothing to declare. So today I would like to talk to you about doing HIFU ablation in a moving organ, and especially in the pancreas. One of the first proposed approach to overcome the problematic of induced respiratory motion in moving organs was to do energy delivering using gating. Therefore, only using the plateau of the respiratory phases to deliver energy. One of the drawbacks of this approach is that we are reducing the duty cycle efficiency and therefore increasing the treatment time. Later on, another approach that has been proposed is to do beam steering, where you would use the overall respiratory phases through the treatment, but the emphasis would be on the steering capabilities of the HIFU beam. And this is technology challenging because you need to acquire high frame rate imaging, and you need to maintain a low latency from the image acquisition to your steering capabilities, which makes this approach quite challenging. More recently, another approach that has been introduced is to do self-scanning, where instead of trying to steer the beam, you would try to figure out where the target is always present, and by simply fixing the beam and sonicating through the motion of the organ and letting the organ do the job passively. Well, today, what I want to talk to you about is an idea of trying to combine the two of these approaches, which are gating and self-scanning. And could a combined approach be of interest? And if you would have to do it, how would you plan such an approach? So here comes our proposal for planning. The first step would be a 4D motion characterization step, in which you would acquire typically 4D MR data to characterize the motion through all the respiratory phases. With motion tracking, you could identify all the phases and where the target is present during these phases. Then, by doing a temporal projection of all these phases, you could attribute a voxel-wise sonication plan. And here is represented that after temporal projection, the green area would be where the target is always present through the respiratory cycle, and therefore you can do self-scan sonication, and the blue points would be where gating-only sonications are available. Once you have this sonication plan decided, you can do thermodose simulation from the motion information that has been extracted in the first phase. You could simulate your self-scan sonication and the gated as well, which at the end give you a big matrix of all the potential sonication that you could do. And by formulating a linear optimization step, actually you could get a suggested plan of the combined self-scan and gated sonications with the associated potential delivered dose. Well, now I'm just going to show you a typical example of how would that look like. Here is a coronal slice that we acquired in a volunteer. We can identify the liver, the pancreas body, and the pancreas head. In green is outlined a potential target in the pancreas head with the white contours, with our motion tracking algorithm running on it. If you project all the acquired phases, what you obtain is, as illustrated here in green and blue, and what I really want to emphasize on is the green part, which is actually this part where you can do these self-scan sonications. And that you can see this green part is encompassed into the white outline through the overall respiratory phases. And then, by zooming a bit more into it, here are the three typical orientations, transverse, coronal, and sagittal. Here is, in this typical volunteer, the subset of points where you could do, in this case, 624 potential sonications, with the repetition again between the self-scan and the gated sonication. If you would have to sonicate all those points, obviously you would definitely overtreat your tumor. But again, with our final step and the linear optimization step, the algorithm can throw suggested planning, illustrated here on the left side of these two panels, with the green points that are the points that would be needed to be self-scanned, and blue points that are gated sonications. In this case, from the 624 sonicated potential locations of sonications, we would actually only need to sonicate 53. 49 would be self-scan, and 4 of them would be gated. And next to it, you also get the suggested delivered dose that you could get. Finally, we evaluated this in a simulation study in 6 healthy volunteers. Here is a representation of the number of sonications that would be needed to ablate the overall pancreas head. The gating and our combined self-scan gating approach have been evaluated. And in this case, the combined approach outperformed the gating approach with a lower number of sonications, which would mean also a shorter treatment time. On that, I would like to conclude by saying that a combined self-scanning and gating method could increase the ablation efficiency in the pancreas. I want to thank you all for your attention. If there is any question, I would be happy to take them.
All right, we have time for a question. I have a question for you. So how long does this algorithm take to run? So can you do this as part of treatment planning immediately before doing treatment?
Yeah, that's a very good one. I will briefly run through the numbers. So of course you have to take into account the acquisition. That's right now more or less 5 minutes. The recon now, because we're running a homebrew implementation, is offline, so that's I think already available on some Siemens scanners. The motion tracking is very fast. It's real time. There's a lot of papers already that have been published from our group on that. The temporal projection is also very fast. Right now, the bit of the problem is the thermodose simulation, because I'm running them all sequentially on my computer. But I think there is a couple of things that can be done for that. First of all, you could just use what we are using, doing what we are doing, but run them, all of them in parallel. But I think we could also investigate some atlas-based method or some, also actually I think at one point what would be nice is to get real data from in vivo protocols and implement them and try to see if we can modify them. Again, AI could be a keyword I could throw today. And the linear optimization is very fast. Right now, and we were afraid that would be the longest part, and also in the paper that I quote in the introduction, it is a complicated task, and the way of how we implement it is actually quite fast, and it's done in 1.5 minutes. So everything is right now already real-time compatible, except I put a little asterisk on the thermodose simulation, but there is definitely a way around that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not clear as to the setup in terms of directing the focal spot. So you don't use steering, right?
I don't use, sorry?
Electronic steering of the beam.
Yeah.
You just mechanically move the transducer. When you get the dose on a specific point, you move to the next one mechanically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for now, the idea would be to first do the scan, get this projection, then I would mechanically move my transducer to a suggested point, do my sonication, and then move on. For now, we didn't think about, I think there is maybe ways to also think about other strategies with the beam steering to also take that into account, but we wanted to first try with what would be the easiest, which in that case would that be.
Thank you very much, Cyril.